Why are the Bucks struggling so mightily? What has Toronto done to win 3 straight games? Who will end up facing the Warriors in the NBA Finals? The only question left is, say it with me, you win? Hey, sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown live show / podcast / hanging out with Jared Weiss after a Game 5, Toronto at Milwaukee. Exciting game, lots to unpack, lots to uncover, lots to discuss. Jared, are you packed?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I'm going to stay up all night to get packed.
Okay.
Just to make no race happy.
Okay. Because Jared
which
is going
a username and not a general race thing.
You're going to Japan, is that correct?
I am going to Japan.
Okay. So we're going to have to hopefully link up there when you're there. But you're still here in your cozy confines of your apartment in Boston. So let's discuss what we just saw here because here's what I want. I asked you this in a text before in the middle of the game. So basically, the only thing that kept the Milwaukee Bucks in this game, in my opinion, were the first 5 minutes of the first quarter and the first 5 or 4 minutes of the third quarter. So what do you think is going on in that little stretch that's killing the Raptors that is not sustained the rest of the game?
Well, after last game, we had this brilliant idea that it was time for Eric Bledsoe to come out of the starting lineup for George Hill. And what did they do? They put Eric Bledsoe back in the starting lineup again and put Brogdon in, and then Bledsoe went absolutely insane in the first few minutes of that first quarter. He had 9 points, I think, in the opening minutes there. So his explosion aside, Milwaukee was always just a little bit flat compared to Toronto.
No, other way around. Oh, his performance aside, yes. Okay, so we had a Bledsoe explosion in the very beginning. He hit a couple threes, and we're like, whoa, what is all that about? But even though he was doing that, and he played well, and he actually scored a bunch of points tonight, he was still mixing in bad turnovers and bad shots and ugly shots anyway. So it wasn't like a complete metamorphosis into like a player everyone was expecting him to be. He was still doing the same stuff we saw, just sprinkled in with actually some positive things, which then kind of disappear at some point when he's, after that initial burst. Now, Mirotic goes to the bench. We didn't predict that at all. That was a strange thing for me because I think our call was send Bledsoe to the bench and start Hill. Hill, I thought, played terrific tonight.
Yeah, he was really good.
And again, it's like, so I don't understand what Budenholzer is trying to do. I don't think he's getting the right lineups out there. And I think Nick Nurse on the other side is also messing with some stuff and playing with fire. It seems to me, and I'm going to have to go through the footage more carefully, but it seems to me that there's something with the Ibaka and Gasol on the court together. And then you throw, Kawhi and Siakam. You have length, and you have, the length and size. That seems to be the 4 you need to have as much as possible. And there just seems to be a little bit of a reluctance to kind of get them all on the page at the same time. In fact, I took a note here. He had a team out there in the first half and the second quarter. Danny Green, Serge Ibaka, Norman Powell, Siakam, and Fred VanVleet. And it was like nobody creates, nobody could get a shot. And it was there for 3-4 minutes, and it was a crucial point where they could not get anything going. It's like, why is he effing around with this stuff?
Well, someone just called him Master Cobra calls him Nick Physician's Assistant instead of Nurse, and so maybe he just needs a little bit more training to get to the full doctor status and not mess around. But that big lineup tonight was amazing in transition defense in the fourth quarter. I mean, they ate Giannis up at the end there. I mean, I know Giannis, he twisted his ankle with a minute left, and that's why he wasn't out there at the very end.
I missed that. So did they announce that? Because I didn't hear it. I was kind of trying to catch up. Yeah.
What happened was he got down in the defensive stance, kind of right on top of Kawhi in the backcourt, and he hyperextended his ankle. He turned his ankle outwards as he did that.
Yeah.
It's popped to the floor immediately. So hopefully he'll be recovered in time. It seemed like it was kind of a minor tweak thing, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. But it would be really sad if that took away his 100% potency with the team on the with the season on the line here for Game 6.
Yeah. And he came in, and I mean, I need to look a little bit carefully how he was moving in the last possession to see, but certainly that is something to look at. Now, let's talk about the final possession here, because that was a little screwy. And I guess not the final one, the inbound by Toronto. So there wasn't enough time to let him run the clock down and then try and get it down by three at that point. There was about, I think, 27 and a half seconds left.
Yeah.
So, because then Toronto would wind the clock down and shoot it, and the clock is still running on the ball's in the air. The shot clock goes off, and you might have a 1 second in on the ball. So, I get it, but why were they sending three guys in the backcourt to the ball? Do we know? Can you figure that one out?
I have no idea. I don't have a good answer for that one.
Okay. Well, that's really interesting. I'm sorry. I'm monitoring the, my Periscope on the on my thing, and I don't see us. But does anybody else see us? Oh, yes, it's working. Never mind. Again, the Periscope on desktop continues to be suboptimal. Now, so that was a real strange thing. And it's these moments when you see that happening, when you see, it's two guys going to the ball, and like Giannis goes into the backcourt too. Okay, now do you think that there was a foul there on Lowry when Middleton and Giannis, try to trap him or whatever they tried to do?
Yeah, they should have called that, especially just because in these late game situations, that they're trying to foul anyway. They always give that foul, so I don't understand. Was it Courtney Kirkland, I think, that didn't give that, or I can't remember who the ref was there?
Yeah, it might have been. Now, but here's the thing. I tweeted it out in slow motion. Giannis doesn't touch him. And he should have. He doesn't even really reach out to do anything. So he doesn't touch him. Lowry is already sort of falling backwards trying to make that pass. So that's why he's falling down. Now, there is like a little bit of contact, sort of, but in the slow-mo, if you go back on Twitter and you see the video there, I think you might be surprised. There probably wasn't, I know the refs know what they want to do. Yeah.
I'm looking at that and seeing the way that Middleton is just like kind of like on top of him, and I'm thinking that's a foul call. Like you're calling that. Middleton is
where's the contact? Where is he hitting him?
Maybe he isn't making contact, and you know what, the ref does have the angle on this, but I'm looking at how close Middleton is getting there, and I feel like that's going to be called almost every single time. But you know what? If they wanted the foul call, they should have wrapped. That's what you do.
Right. But also the other issue here is, here, I'm looking at it right now too. Okay, I mean, I guess but here's the thing. There's a little bit of contact, but he's not taking the foul. He puts his left hand out like he's going near the ball, and he kind of rotates his body open as the ball's moving that direction. You got to like move in and down and like really hack. It's inexplicable. Now, had they not been so out of position and had four guys up that high, then they would have just fouled, a few seconds later and put them on the line. And then, by the way, it would have been Siakam, which would have been great for them. So, Now, throw the fact that in there that both Kawhi and Marc Gasol missed two free throws in the last minute. The game should have been over before this. So, in some respects, the Bucks were kind of lucky to even be in that situation. But, here's the thing. If I were to add up the points per possession in the half court from Milwaukee in this game, I don't know. What do you think it's going to be? Is it going to be good or bad?
Terrible, I would imagine.
Yeah. Now, and by the way, Giannis's numbers were not bad. They were not bad, as I'm trying to delay my sentence until I get to the final thing here. Is this the final? Yeah.
So, I mean, he had 24 points, 6 boards, 6 assists. It's not good, Giannis. He only got to the line 9 times. I mean, there were so many plays where he attacked and thought he would be able to draw the foul, and Toronto ate him up. I mean, there was a play where Fred VanVleet tried to take a charge on him, and I think Siakam rotated over to get the block. One of those guys got the block. And, the fact that VanVleet was able to kind of stop Giannis was really telling of just how Giannis just was kind of off balance tonight.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny because it was probably the worst 24 6-6 game you're going to see, and he only had 2 turnovers. Although a couple of the shots were almost turnovers, the way he ended up releasing them and how they missed. He hit 2 threes, so it's on paper that he had a good game, but all I could think about was geez, he got outplayed by Kawhi Leonard. But let's see what Kawhi Leonard's numbers were. He had 35. For 11 for 25 shooting. So he didn't shoot awesome, but 5 for 8 from behind the three-point line, 8 for 9 from the line. 9 assists. So Kawhi Leonard was, he's not seeing the floor like James Harden, right? He's not skipping 35 feet to the corner. Really. Or like Giannis. But he can make the right play. And I would have to imagine of those 9 assists, how many were for Fred VanVleet threes? Maybe 3 of them, whatever.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot.
Maybe. And as a result, that would have been a much more normal 5-6 assist game for Kawhi, but he gets 9 because VanVleet, let's just talk about him. To me, what I saw on his shot was he was getting a lot more arc, which we oftentimes aren't necessarily that excited about. But I think maybe for him and his natural rhythm, the more arc he used, that certainly that seemed to be a difference in his shooting in this game versus when he was just couldn't hit a bucket for the life of him in the early part of the series. Does you agree with that?
Yeah, it's funny. Him and Lowry are so similar in a lot of the ways that they move, and they also have this super high arcing jump shot. They kind of need that rainbow shot to get it, I guess, just to get it over the front of the rim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and there's a lot of shooters that think that way. I know Trae Young is that way. I know Buddy Hield is that way, and I'll have more on that in the story coming soon in The Athletic. But there's a lot of shooters who their thought process is they want to get a really high arcing shot, and they're just trying to inch it over the front of the rim. So
right. Well, there's problems
I think he's
with
one
that.
of those guys.
And part of the problem with that is that it's harder to control the ball. So we have a lot of different thoughts. The NOAA guys who track a lot of the arc stuff want to say it should be 45 is the optimum. And again, there's no optimum necessarily, because if there's a guy on you and you got to shoot it over him, then it's going to be a lot higher arc. It's just how it is. But in this perfect world, when you're catching, shooting, you're open, the 45, I think it's a little bit higher than that. But I was at the Pro Basketball Combine for 3 days this past week. I shot a lot of great stuff. So you can't wait. You'll have to wait, but it's awesome stuff on court. But we were looking at it with the Respect guys, who also have this amazing data and amazing technology that charts the arc and then where the ball goes in the rim. And I saw one guy, Ty Cockfield from Arkansas State, who was the best shooter I think I'd been around in a long time. And this guy was just nailing shots. And he was shooting about 42, 43 degrees arc. And he was about 5'11", and he had to shoot over guys. And I swear to God, and also the way he bunched his makes were within like 5 or 6 inches of each other, which is a sign of a good shooter in the rim. And the Respect guys were like blown away. He was off the charts. So what do I know? But the bottom line is I think there is an ocean to like 48, 49 degrees. And that was the average we saw across everybody at the Combine. But this guy was nailing shots at like 43. Nonetheless, it does look like, for maybe specifically for Van Vliet, that's the thing that unlocked his shooting, and they needed it. 21 points, 7 to 9 from 3. He doesn't do that, right? And they don't even get close to winning this game. I've always wanted to be the Fred Van Vliet of fashion, since I'm constantly looking for clothes that are really comfortable, but are also stylish enough to wear out as well. And at Rhone, I've finally found the one place for premium activewear that is engineered for unparalleled quality and comfort. Slip on their Spar crew neck and you'll know exactly what I mean. It's ridiculously soft and has stretch to it, making it seem like it was designed exactly for you. Do you consider yourself a modern man? Well, Rhone has something for you for every occasion. Their selection of premium shorts, shirts, tank tops, socks, and swimwear has you literally covered for every situation, and they're perfect for the office or the gym. And now, Rhone has just released their amazing new commuter collection, perfect for looking great and staying comfortable at the office. There's no question the style is familiar but unique, as it rides the line between absolute comfort and the need to look appropriate in an office setting. I'm a sucker for pullovers, and their Sequoia quarter zip is awesome because you can have a nice collared shirt underneath it to get the perfect mix of business and casual. And that goes for everything in the commuter collection, from pants, polos, shorts, and shirts that are all lightweight, comfortable, and wrinkle-free. Go to Rhone.com/breakdown today and use promo code BREAKDOWN to get 20% off your first purchase. That's RHONE.com/breakdown, promo code BREAKDOWN for 20% off. Rhone.com/breakdown, promo code BREAKDOWN.
Someone wants to know who won. We're not going to tell you. Giannis equals soft. Giannis overrated. We're seeing a lot of Giannis hate tonight in the chat. And I'm wondering, as a rational human being who doesn't overreact to moments, what do you think of Giannis in light of this series shifting Toronto's direction?
Well, he's not quite ready, right? He's not an MVP. He's not playing like an MVP would. Is that safe to say?
I think he's close, but not quite. I mean, I don't think it's a fair statement. I think he's playing really well, but we're seeing the limitation of Milwaukee is that it's extremely dependent on him. And there's only one other guy on the floor that can reliably play make for himself, and Bledsoe's kind of up and down. And we're just seeing that Toronto has a better balance at this point.
Yeah, no, I agree. And well, is it a better balance? I mean, certainly tonight was, but there's no
Yeah.
question that the Kawhi, right? He is. And by the way, how much better did Kawhi look tonight, movement wise? I mean, it's like night and day. What did they do to him? Do you know? Do we
He
know?
must have probably went to Germany for a PRP injection in between games. I don't know, but
Seriously,
it's
it's insane what he did, right? I mean, he was moving like his old self.
yeah. You know what? I'm not 100% sure because I feel like his hard change of direction isn't quite where it is. So I think there's still even a little bit more for him to do to really get, kind of physically where he needs to beat the Warriors, for instance.
Hmm.
But he's getting it. It's funny, like when I was watching the game, it didn't feel like he was really crushing Milwaukee until that late fourth quarter run. But you just see he's just so persistent. It piles up, and before you know it, he's just kind of chipping away to 35 points.
Okay, yeah. Well, let's quickly go to Rob 87878 asks about the referees and thought that there was an agenda going on. In a game 5, it's hard to think that there's an agenda necessarily because there's going to be a game 6, and so it's hard to sort of force that. And I can't see the narrative of them wanting Toronto over the Bucks right at this point, market wise. So it's hard to get instances of that, but. I was concerned. I thought the refereeing was horrible tonight. Didn't you?
It didn't feel very good, that's for sure.
And I say horrible only because it felt like both fan bases should be upset, right?
Yeah, yeah. I never. It's so rare to find a officiating being lopsided. It's either really bad or really good in most games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Tony Brothers. Literally, I kind of got to the game late, and I turned it on right when they call Siakam's second foul. And it was like he's going to the basket. He lays it in. There's like a little like it should have been a no call at best. They give him a charge. I mean, it was and it went from there. Now that review of the Brogdon thing, the first couple of angles, I was like, I didn't really see it, but I guess they got it right. It definitely hit off his right shin.
Yeah, I think they had it right.
Okay, so and if you didn't miss the game, basically Brogdon tried to rip through in the deep corner. They were probably only down by 3 at that point, I believe. I can't remember now. And he just sort of lost the ball, or I don't know if it got deflected briefly by Siakam and just hit off of Brogdon's right shin.
It hit Siakam's leg when he did the sweep move, and that's what caused that to happen.
Okay, yeah. So, and again, the play calling wasn't that great. They kind of just like spread it out. They weren't sort of trying to set screens to get people opening on it to catch and go. And it was that is the problem that we've talked about for all this time with the Bucks. If they can't get enough fast break scoring, then they really struggle. And we know that these kind of games in the Eastern Conference Finals, you're going to have a lot more of a frequency of half court than you are full court. And by the way, I want to give all the credit in the world to Milwaukee for being able to increase that frequency of fast breaks in the playoffs for a lot of these games, which is why they were winning. But you can argue that that's sort of smoke and mirrors because, they were just, I mean, they were. If it was 0.9 points per possession in the half court, it was 1.2 in the full court, and they were getting 25 points in that stretch. That's a huge dichotomy that they were able to capitalize on. As soon as it gets below 20 points, a fast break, and as soon as the frequency gets down to 20% or so, then they don't have much, right?
Pretty much, and but Milwaukee's whole thing has always been that when you miss a shot against them, they're going to try to run down your throat, and I mean that's how they've been finding success the entire season. So it's like you shouldn't really expect that to change too much in the postseason. That's going to be their MO. Right. And their defense has been so good so far in the playoffs, really up until they got to facing Toronto, that it was like they didn't really have to compromise that or learn how to, pivot off of that when it wasn't working because it's been working this entire time.
Right, absolutely. We have, let's see, DB Balba says, the series ain't over, but you can imagine Drake next game, especially if they win. Bucks are going to hate losing in Toronto. Drake will go off. Yeah, I think everyone's going to get a massage from Drake if they win, right?
I'm waiting for mine.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's going to be crazy, I think, in Toronto. What do you think? What should... Is there anything else that they could do, Milwaukee? What's the adjustment that you might make lineup wise or whatever? Because obviously, there isn't an adjustment they can make in the half court offense, right? They spread. That's all they do. So what could they do? You think, Jared?
You could try running pick and roll with Middleton and Giannis. It's like, why not throw it out there now? It's your one chance to do it. Middleton, it's been weird. He's been getting up, like he's been racking up assists, but hasn't really been able to score. So I think that would be really interesting. I
Mhm.
mean, I feel like they just got to start running more pick and roll just to pull Toronto's defenders from outside of the paint. I think my main goal at this point is trying to pull out Toronto defenders to give Giannis easier driving lanes. Because right now he's driving into a trap, which is usually 2 6'10" guys at least, and the length is hurting him, ironically.
Yeah, and I will say this: Milwaukee. Let's see what their 3-point percentage was. 10 for 31. You know what? That's higher than I thought it was because they definitely had a lot of makeable threes. At least in my mind's eye, I can picture some of them right now that they weren't hitting. But I'm surprised. I thought it was going to be below 30, and it would have been a great thing to point to. 32% for the team. It's not great, but it's not terrible. And hence, I
And
mean, it was a close game, but that's key for them too.
pretty rare that they took 12 less threes than their opponent. Usually it's the other way around. So I guess they're going to have to get a lot more 3-pointers up. They're going to just need as much drive and kick from Giannis as possible. And I mean, I like it when they're in their drive and kick scheme. It's good because they're usually able to find an open three. But I guess the problem is that they, like, at the end of the game, for instance, where there's overloading on Giannis, and Giannis can't get into the middle of the lane, and so they got to swing it around, and then you're getting the ball to Brogdon in the corner, who gets smothered by Siakam, ends up losing the ball in kind of an unfortunate situation. But you need to have a plan B if you can't get drive and kick, and Milwaukee right now just doesn't have one that's working against Toronto's physicality.
I agree, and so you're getting sort of like ugly possessions here that they're just creating hard shots. And by the way, Toronto gets a lot of credit because they're defending well. They're not helping one pass away. They're maintaining their positions, just enough to win this game, right? And that's all they needed to do on the road. They had to somehow claw. I was a little bit worried at some point that all the energy they needed to expend to get back in the game in the first quarter and then in the third quarter, they were going to just go to conk out and not do it. But they were able to get back quickly enough. And although I will say in the second half when they got control, they got like a 4-point lead, and they had or maybe even a 6-point lead. They really had a chance to extend it, and that would have really been devastating. I think if they had done that and pulled away, like I'd say that this series is already over. And I'm glad to see that the Bucks actually held in there. But I don't know. I don't know if I have a great feeling for the Bucks at this point. They've now lost 3 in a row, going back into Toronto, which is a difficult place to play in. What do you think they're going to win? Think the Raptors are going to pull us out in Game 6?
Probably. I mean, going back home, just the power of Drake's shoulder massages, as we've gone over countless times. The people breakdown extremely valuable here. I mean, Jigglypuff's got a 1-month-old puppy. I feel like so much is just going in their favor. Congrats, Jigglypuff. There's just a lot going in Toronto's favor right now. And just, I mean, shit, man, like, I think you need Chris Middleton to just have a game where he's dominating in isolation scoring if this is going to change. I don't think Giannis is going to be able to get it done all on his own, especially after tweaking his ankle, which, like, best case scenario is he's just a little bit hobbled for this game. But, like, that guy with a bad ankle, like, his whole game is being able to put all of his weight onto that right ankle and push off of it to do Euro steps and stuff like that. So this is going to be a major issue.
Right. Now, one thing I did notice that this was the first game I noticed that I saw that Giannis was attacking Kawhi a little bit. Like, I swear he was like a deer in the headlights whenever Kawhi was picking him up before that. He just give the ball up. So at least in this game, we saw him trying to attack more and be more aggressive. Didn't work so well. I mean, Kawhi still was able to get his mitts in there and force misses. The referees, again, like we say, independent of the bad calls or whatever, they definitely felt like they were letting them play, right? That's another one of those things. It was physical, and they weren't blowing a lot of the whistles that you would normally have thought they would have. And that, I don't even know if that benefits either team at this point. No one's necessarily that much more physical. You know what? I think I figured out what I don't like about Marc Gasol's shot. Okay, he only scored 4 points, and he was 1 for 6. He kind of rushes his shot almost all the time. So he goes from like the ball at his waist into the ball out and up and out so quickly that there's almost no sense of like elbow bend and like shot. It's like almost like he's throwing it at the rim. And I think it's no surprise to me that he's so inconsistent with it. He had a turnaround in the lane where he did that because he was so scared of. I think it was probably Giannis on him, and it was I don't know if it hit the rim. So it finally hit me. That's what it is. That's what's wrong with it. But they're not going to get only. Marc Gasol's going to score more than 4 points in Game 6, right?
I'd imagine so.
Oh, well, let's talk about that because Danny Green, 0 points, 0 for 3, negative 17. And that was the adjustment we kept saying that the Toronto needed to make, and they didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So,
they only played him 15 minutes, and they relied on Powell and Van Fleet for the most part. So I feel like they kind of made that adjustment.
okay.
And they've closed it down to an 8-man rotation. Although I guess they've kind of been there for a while. But yeah, I'd say they went away from Green sufficiently.
Yeah. They did, but it's like why F around? Just get him out of the get Powell in the starting lineup and go crazy in the beginning because you saw what happened, right? They went down so quickly in the beginning. We do have a super chat. The Silver Dragon, thank you so much. Wants to know what happened with Giannis at the end. We kind of talked about it, but we'll quickly fill it in. Jared, you had illustrated that. I'll just give it. He inverted his ankle, so he didn't roll it like we normally see. He turned it the other way when stepping on Kawhi's foot in the backcourt, trying to pressure.
Didn't even step on his foot. He just like kind of put his tippy toe out to get around it.
Oh, okay.
And then that's how it happened. Yeah.
Right. So he got in a bad way. Now they didn't do anything when he came out. In fact, he came out and then he was kind of standing at the bench. He didn't go from the scores table, right? He didn't move from there. Right?
No, he just kind of like sat on the table, which is like half standing, half sitting.
Which that made no sense because they needed him. He wasn't in for that last half court possession. So they're going to have to answer that. I want to know what Budenholzer was thinking at that point. Why if you take him out there, then why is he ready to go right back in? Like, why are you taking him out then? That didn't make a lot of sense to me, right? Or did it make sense to you?
No, I don't think it made sense to anyone.
Okay.
But you know what? It's weird. It's like ever since Nurse put Kawhi on Giannis, this series has kind of flipped on its head.
Absolutely.
And that was good for Middleton, and that Middleton had 30 last game, and he had 21 the game before that. Tonight Middleton just didn't have it. They needed to turn around. But like by putting the pressure of Kawhi up high on Giannis just isn't getting into the lane in half court the way that he usually does. And I think, hell, maybe they thought at the end there that just with Kawhi out there, they're worried that the possession wasn't going to go well with Giannis out there if he's not able to get any push off. And they're thinking with Giannis on him, with Kawhi on Giannis, with the way that Kawhi gets his hands in there and makes it hard to triple because Giannis isn't a pull-up shooter, that having him try to launch and drive into the teeth of the defense with that kind of coverage would have just gotten really poorly. And we're seeing lately that when Giannis turns his back up high above the free throw line, the play is like almost over the entire all the time. We had that happen. I think it was like kind of late fourth quarter, like beginning of crunch time, where Kawhi was guarding him. Giannis tried to turn his back, and then he did kind of try to do like a weird turnaround floater that almost airballed if it didn't actually airball. And Kawhi's just done such an amazing job of really forcing Giannis to turn away.
Absolutely.
And once you do that with him, the play's over.
Right, because again, Giannis does not have any sort of back to the basket moves really, besides just sort of like lowering your shoulder and trying to, you're around him. He needs a hook. He needs up and under. He needs some more footwork. And he's young. He'll get that, I suppose. But that's a real big gap in his game as well. And you might want to wonder why Nick Nurse took so long, took 2 games and go down too low to actually make that adjustment that we were calling for. But he did, and it's probably going to win them the series. Andrew Zhu, another super chat. Thank you so much. Why is Bledsoe first team defense? Oh, I saw that. And, first of all, Clay has not made a first or second team defense, right?
No.
And I just think that's outrageous to me. But all the first team and team defense stuff is just wild. Now, there are moments when Bledsoe can overwhelm guards on the ball, but I've never seen him be very good off the ball. And I've also seen him when he's sort of diving and gambling for steals and gets out of position. It's really unclear to me. Do we know how that's actually? Is that just who votes for the all defensive team?
It's media. And by the way, I should clarify when you asked that question before, Clay did make the second team this year. He just hadn't.
Oh,
he had not previously made it. Yeah.
Oh, good.
It was just that was the first time he had made it. First timers were Smart, Bledsoe, and Clay. I believe was the only. Those 3.
Okay. So So in the media does it, and the media. If there's one thing that I end up getting involved with, and it happened again tonight when I showed a rotation, and guess who? Bledsoe doesn't complete the rotation to get to the corner for somebody 3, wide open 3 in the corner by somebody. Anyway, I think it was Van Vliet. and they argue with me saying, no, it's not right. That's not the right rotation. And I'm like, listen, if there's one thing I understand, it's defensive rotations. And it's the one thing that I get the most like pushback and arguing with. It's really strange. And so I have to imagine that the media are equally mystified by defense in that same idea, because again, why he got first team, I have no idea. At the very least, Clay should be for first team, and then maybe second team. But I think I have to look through my brain and figure out who else would be there. But there's got to be at least two other guys who I would say are in that position who are.
Well, so all right. Well, if you look at the guards, so Marcus Smart was the leading vote getter, which I thought was a pretty good one. Then you had Drew Holiday, who would usually be the first team guy, but their defense was so horrible this year, aside from him, that it was kind of hard to justify him being first team. But I think Drew and Smart are the two best defensive guards in the league, and then Clay's probably right there. Okay. So Clay was the other guy. I can tell you who the other vote getters were, I think. But Derek White, I thought was going to get it. I was surprised he didn't.
He's just not a name yet.
Yeah, but DeJounte Murray got it last year in his second season, so I thought White was going to get it.
Wait, White. What did DeJounte Murray got? Second team all defense?
Yeah, first team all defense last year.
Oh, I got to pay attention to that award bet more.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh.
I thought White would have gotten it this year. I thought he would have gotten second team. But the reason why Bledsoe got it was because Milwaukee's defense was amazing in the regular season, and they executed.
Yeah.
They executed a scheme in which they do a deep drop scheme where Bledsoe pushes the ball handler into a trap out in the kind of like mid-range elbow area, and it smothered guys all year, and they were like the best team in the league against elite scoring point guards.
Right.
So he did great stuff in the regular season, but we're just seeing in the postseason that they've abandoned that scheme for the most part anyway. So he just hasn't been nearly as valuable in that scheme.
Fair enough.
And you know what? In the first round and this round, they're not facing kind of elite guards, although Kyle Lowry, who knows what to call it these days, but Lowry isn't even running a lot of offense. But in the second round against the Celtics, Bledsoe was killing Kyrie in the first few games, and Kyrie couldn't really get anything. And really throughout the series, Kyrie couldn't get anything. So, I mean, Bledsoe was very effective defensively in that one.
Okay, fair enough. Well, let's give him some props for that, and not so much props for this series. But we have some other super chats to take care of. So the Silver Dragon, another super chat. Thank you so much, Silver Dragon. That Lopez and one in the fourth seemed questionable. So now I'm trying to rack my brain because I feel like there was one where they blocked him, like three guys blocked him at the rim, and they didn't call anything, and it was relatively clean. So that was one. Do you remember which Lopez and one he's talking about?
I'm trying to look it up now because I don't remember.
Wow. Am I blocking the N1? Although I can kind of see it was like at the basket. Yeah, but certainly, I mean, again, it just plays more to this narrative of like what, the referees just were really struggling, it felt like. And then Lovely Day, friend of the breakdown, Lovely Day, with another great one. He wants to go off topic, so let's do that. What should we say?
Okay. We'll try to return to the Brook Lopez thing. I'm going to try to find the video clip.
All right, you do that, and I'll just read his question. But, Coach, can you do a video breaking down your all-NBA team for all three? Oh, okay. I got to do first, second, and third team. I guess I could try and do that. I kind of never do those kind of videos. I didn't even know that who's in the first team last year on all defensive team. But I suppose it would be interesting to do. Now he wants my all NBA team versus who they vote for in the all NBA team. Maybe I'll do one for that. Well, at least maybe do the first team, who I think that could be interesting. I have to wrap my head around that. Maybe you'll help me with that, Jared, too, because you can help me.
I could try. I mean, you want to do a first team right now?
Okay. What would that look like? So we got Giannis, Curry, KD.
I don't think it was that hard. It was the KD is the hard part. So KD did not make it. So Paul George made it over him.
Wait, was all NBA already released today? Did I miss it?
Do you just climb out of bed for the games and then go back to sleep after that? Yeah. It came out today.
I was busy this news. I was busy this afternoon, and I was just sort of, not paying attention.
The big story. So the big story today was that Kemba made third team over Klay Thompson, so he got the supermax. But Klay Thompson cannot get the supermax.
Wow.
And actually, if you check out Anthony Slater's Twitter, our beat reporter on the Warriors for The Athletic, he has this amazing video where he informs Klay that he didn't make All NBA and asks Klay how does he feel about that and about not getting qualified for the supermax because of it. It's pretty remarkable to see someone basically find out live that they lost like 30 or 40 million dollars. It's
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
Did he have a big reaction?
His reaction was basically like, I believe I clearly am an all NBA player, but there's lots of other great players out there. So like, I understand how it works, and you know what, but I'd rather have 5 straight finals appearances and get a ring and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I think he nailed it. He showed he was pissed off and he was disappointed, but he handled it really well. I mean, frankly, he handled it really well for the gravity of that moment. If I found out that I was losing my chance at getting, half a, or what, 50 million or 30 million, whatever it is, I probably would freak out a little bit more than that. So
yeah, I agree.
I was really impressed. I mean, Clay is always amazing every time he's in front of a camera. He's one of the most remarkable people in the NBA, probably ever, really.
Okay. Wow. Big winners. Well, we got a couple more super chats to take care of. Jingo, thank you so much. He thought that Siakam would have made a defensive team. Yeah, I mean, but that's also his saving grace in this series too. By the way, he has been doing pretty well. I kind of want to quickly check his box score. So even offensively, 14 points on 5 for 15, and he hit a couple threes. But he had at least one block. No, he had 3 blocks, and was very active in his steal. So yes, he's so long and he's active and he wants to do well on that end. So yeah, I would have said he deserved at least something. But again, that list is tough and you got to break in above other people. Anybody above him that we think shouldn't have made it, that Siakam should have leaped over?
Well, so Draymond got it, and Draymond was like Draymond is obviously the best defender in the NBA, and he's proving in the playoffs, but he didn't have that good of a regular season. So I didn't think he should have made it, and maybe he Pascal would have gotten it there. Kawhi got the other forward spot on the second team. Kawhi, another guy, shows in the playoffs that he's the best defender at his position, but didn't really defend that well in the regular season. The irony was because of the way that the position designations are set up. So like forwards didn't get a lot of votes, but guards got a lot of votes. Mm-hmm. And so Danny Green actually ended up getting a lot more votes than Kawhi did. But because Danny is a guard and Kawhi is a forward for all NBA, Kawhi actually made the team instead of him, which was really disappointing because as wings, they're effectively the exact same position. So I wish they could kind of update that.
But wait, are you talking about for defensive team, Danny Green?
Yeah, defensive team. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm gonna have to dig in and look at that list because and then figure out what that video will be.
PJ Tucker was the one that had he fell 1 point short of Kawhi for the other forward spot, and then Siakam was like 14 points short. So Kawhi got it because of reputation and because most people in the public and the media tend to be about like a year or two behind on defensive reputation. Now Kawhi, it's because usually defensive reputation kind of trends. It's like usually your defensive capability probably peaks early and then drops off late in your career. Unless you're a big, it probably peaks later as a big. But so Kawhi, I think this is kind of just an anomalous season for him. He's clearly proven he still is the best defender, best wing defender in the league. So, but I think looking at the voting list here, you have Tucker and Siakam, who were the next 2 vote getters, and then Draymond and Kawhi, who were the 2 second team guys. I think I would have put Tucker and Siakam on that team instead of Kawhi and Draymond.
Yeah. So it's just a mess. It's not even worth. I mean, it's really what sucks about it is that it's so directly related to contracts and how much they're going to make. Because otherwise, you just say, you know what, it is a mess. It's not always that accurate, and let's just move on. But it definitely is a thing that really affects these guys. So that's really too bad.
So I just have to quickly say something. There's someone in the YouTube chat whose name is Kawhi is better than MJ. I'm shocked that they're about to say this. They asked what I'm smoking, that Kawhi should have been first team. They say Kawhi is officially the best defender of all time. And so great time to explain the difference between a regular season award and someone's actual worth. I just said like 3 times, Kawhi Leonard is the best perimeter defender in the NBA, probably a top 5 perimeter defender of all time, but he did not defend that well in the regular season. He was decent in the regular season. He underperformed his usual standard, and he missed a lot of games. He only played like 60 games.
Yeah, load management. So yeah, for sure that should be affected it. So we have Xavier Smith asks, is Kawhi proving that MVP should include playoffs?
Yes.
Which I think is a great question. Yes. Thank you so much for the super chat. Yes. Right? Why not? Why can't we wait? I mean, I know they want to announce it during the playoffs, but hey. And by the way, isn't MVP announced like really soon? Isn't it during the conference finals?
No, they changed it. They have the NBA
Oh,
awards now where they wait
oh,
like a week and a half after the season is over
oh,
before they
yeah,
announce
that's
it.
right. Okay, so yeah,
Think
absolutely, it should be the playoffs, no question.
so I've came up with this argument when I was 12 years old. I felt this way. I mean, I'm sure someone else had that idea since then, but I have been saying forever, my entire life, there should be two series of awards. A regular season award that is given right after the regular season is over, and then a full season award in which you combine the regular season and the playoffs. Now, some people have argued it should just be a playoff award versus regular season. I disagree. I think it's that what your totality of your season is the regular season is for most guys worth like 30%, and then the playoffs is worth 70%. Yet our awards don't even come close to recognizing that. And that's just an issue that we have in the US where all the major sports are constructed that way.
Right.
It's very stupid. It's completely pointless. It's very simple. People like I've heard so many counter arguments of saying, well, like people are going to value things differently, and so like some people will give too much credence to the playoffs or not too much to the regular season. Who cares? It's like there's going to be difference in voting. There's already that issue with MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. We already have all those problems, so it's another variable, but it's something that people will figure out as they get more experience with voting. And it's so ridiculous. Like there's also the variable that people play shorter amounts of time in the playoffs. Well, then you probably reward guys that advance a little bit more, but you also could just subjectively adjust for an elite player that bowed out in the first round because his team wasn't as
Right.
good versus a great player whose team advanced more.
Well,
But yeah, like I don't think
it does mean that you don't win MVP if your team doesn't make the playoffs, which is I think reasonable anyway. Wouldn't you say?
it would be almost impossible to win MVP if your team
Right.
doesn't make the playoffs. But it's how it should be. Yeah, it's how
Right.
it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but like
I'm interested. Yeah.
but like Kawhi is having an amazing season overall. Now that you're adding in all these playoff games to the load management from the regular season, and so he deserves that credit because like he's clearly a first team All NBA guy now. It's like you need to credit him for everything he's accomplishing in the postseason. While when you look back from an awards perspective, this is going to be looked at as kind of like a weird transition year. When he's showing in the playoffs, it's not. It's another historically great Kawhi Leonard season.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the YouTube comments. We had a couple more as we wrap up. Silvio Neris asks, "Do I agree the Bucks coach is not adjusting to Giannis getting trapped and double teamed and quadruple teamed in the last few games?" Yeah. Well, here's the thing, and I saw it with it's with Giannis. Gosh, I got to chart it now, but it feels like their pass out of the double team is like back out to the perimeter, and there's no taking advantage of the advantage. By the time they kind of get it back around, the Raptors are doing a nice job of recovering. Whereas I feel like when you do that with like the Warriors, they're making one boom, 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 and it's a layup, or the boom and it's an alley oop, right? And it's here that's not happening at all, and that would be part of their the lack of movement on offense. They just don't have the system built for that, right? Does it feel that way to you?
I agree with you.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, there you go. Kevin says, was Green the player you thought didn't deserve to be a starter? I don't know what he saw. Is that Danny Green? Oh, yes. And we had talked about that for sure. Green shouldn't be starting. I wouldn't start him now. Put Powell in there. Let's see here.
Let's say for the record, let's say they make it to the finals, which looks most likely now. I would not be shocked at all for Danny Green to turn it around and be extremely important in that series. And they need him to be, of course, because that's a guard-heavy team where you desperately need him to be able to guard Steph and Clay.
Fair enough. That's another good point. We'll see. I'm still not sold, but we'll see. Okay, maybe. Maybe.
Can I?
Yeah.
Can I jump off track quickly? I saw somebody, I think their name is LeBronny or something like that, asking, is Clay kind of like Trevor Ariza if he goes to a new team because he can't create his own shot? And so let's dispel the myth of Clay not being able to create his own shot. He's not a good off the dribble player, but he can create his own shot by moving off of the ball. And like he's if he was on his own team, he'd be scoring 25, 27 points a game. He'd be an elite scorer.
But he's also scoring off the dribble. I'm seeing that. I'm seeing him get to the mid-range and pulling up or getting into the post and abusing a smaller guard. So
he's gotten better at it, but if you give him an ISO clear out against a good defender, I don't think he's going to be able to get to his shot.
Right.
Maybe once in a while, but he's not going to be able to do it the way that most of these guys in the playoffs are.
Yeah. But then also that the supreme gravity he has as he pulls people off, coming off those screens too, opens up so much for them. even as a second, even if they don't score immediately off of that cut. So it's not exactly like what you'd see Harden do, but it's almost as valuable for sure. Joey Sagallo, yeah.
I was gonna say he's amazing attacking closeouts. There's a few guys in the league that do it the way he does it.
Sure. Yeah. Joey Sagallo asks, Coach Nick, I honestly think the Warriors will sweep or win in 5 versus Toronto and Milwaukee. I mean, certainly the way Milwaukee has looked the last 3 games, I don't see them, winning that many games against the Warriors. I just don't. I think they have enough people to guard Giannis, and their defense is so good that they'll be able to shut down. And here's the only thing: the Warriors still have, on occasion, the yips and still have turnover issues. And if they let the Milwaukee Bucks get into transition, they're going to win a couple of games. So that's about it. Now Toronto is different, but Toronto just seems like they're just not deep enough, right? They're playing together as a team. It's a nice team. They're doing well, but it's a whole other level. I don't know if they win. I would think it's 5 against Toronto. Wouldn't you?
5.5.
5.5. All right. Good
yeah,
enough.
but like Toronto is showing their strength is power in the interior. Their strength is containing dribble penetration. That's not what you need to beat the Warriors. They don't match up nearly as well against the Warriors as Milwaukee does. So, right. Yeah, I think Golden State should be able to handle this pretty well. But Kawhi's playing at elite level, and Toronto has the talent on board that if everybody's hot, they can definitely win the series. But Golden State is just clearly more talented, and they are playing better quality basketball at this point.
For sure. DJ Sub-Zero wants to know if we're actually reading the chat. We are. I see you.
We keep pulling stuff out of it.
Right. I mean, when you see this chat, man, it's impossible to have a conversation and actually keep up with all of it. But we're doing our best, and the super chats are awesome too. Let's see here. Silver Dragon I was referring to the Gasol blocking foul. That's what the N1.
Was that the one where they called him? Oh wait, no, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of Lopez. So then, I think the Gasol blocking foul is correct. That was the one where he rotated over late. Yeah. Or was it the one where he was?
Oh no,
he like kind of turned into it.
That was a charge. I mean, I tweeted that out. I'm sorry. Now I remember. I don't know, man. That looked like a charge to me. I know Reggie was trying to say, look how he moved to his left, but it was like I tweeted that one out too. You'll see it. I add both angles in the tweet. I don't know, man. That felt like again, that's the hardest call to make, and yada yada yada. But I don't know. That was troubling to me. I just add it to the list of like troubling calls that I'm sure if they do the review, By the way, I'd be surprised if we saw a review of that play if they didn't say it was wrong. It was an incorrect call.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right. I remember this when this play happened. I was watching with my friend, and I said that is not that's a charge.
Right.
So they called it because usually when you take a charge, you tend to line your feet up with the charge circle and kind of stay like angled flat towards the rim, while Gasol kind of like went straight out and put his foot out into the middle of the paint, and that's why they were calling it that way. But if you look at it, he just kind of goes straight into his path, and it goes straight up, and he's already in position at that point. So
right.
I definitely do not think that's a charge. That should have been a charge.
For sure. And another shout out to Gigolo Puff, who got in here and is moderating the chat. And can you email me again after tonight or next day or so, please? Hopefully you still have my email. But also, who was it? GJ Sub-Zero is also saying something to me I wanted to respond to, but now I can't find it. Where did he go? Anyway, I had a good point to make, and now I'm forgetting. All right, anything. Anyway, well, listen. What do you say? This was a great chat.
Oh, hold on. We got another super chat here from Andrew Joe, who asked, "Does Houston win the finals if they got past Golden State?" So,
and did we pronounce your name right? Is it Zoe or is it Zoo or how do you pronounce it? Let us know.
I went with Joe because
I think that sounds
Joe, but
yeah,
hopefully it's close. But yeah. So Houston, yes, I think would still win. I think they were definitely good enough to. They're kind of like a better version of Milwaukee, almost.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I see that for sure, and they are a better version. Although you can argue that the Milwaukee's a better defense, right?
Yes, I would agree.
But the offense trumps defense, right? There's some sliding rule there where if you're that much better on offense than they are on defense, you're better. So yeah, it's an interesting question. But I would imagine that they would have been favored, and it would have been a little bit more interesting. But like, who guards Harden? I mean, Middleton would guard him. That would probably be a pretty good matchup. I guess you throw Bledsoe. We saw Bledsoe do the. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. You know what? It would be really interesting because then we get more of the crazy defending of Harden stuff, playing behind him, playing on the side of him. Remember that they're the ones who developed that initially.
That's true. And Bledsoe likes top locking guys into that trap, so they would probably want to do that.
Yeah. I would have liked to have seen that, actually, believe it or not. That would have been a fun finals to like look at and see. I don't think it's a great idea to do, but hey, if that was working, then. But and by the way, the Jazz did it. If you look at the numbers, at the very least on Harden's side, it worked. He did not shoot or play well. DJ Sub-Zero and a couple other guys did bring up the point. Where's Game 4 and 5 video? Now I'm going to do Game 5 breakdown today, tomorrow morning, whatever. So you'll get that one. It just so happened Game 4, I was on the court all day, every day for the last couple of days and so busy I didn't have time to do Game 4. So I apologize. It got to be late. No one would have watched it by then. But I will get to it ASAP. Don't worry. And then we're only going to have a problem if Game 7 happens. I'm out of town and I don't know what's going to happen there. Wait. I'm sorry. Game 6 is Saturday, right?
Yeah. I don't know what today is. Today's Thursday. So
Game 6 is Saturday. So I don't. I'm out of town at an event for the family. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. I'll bring my laptop, so we'll see.
Hey, I'm going to be on the other side of the world. I think you could somehow manage to pull it off.
Okay, I could try, but again, you know how that goes. Maybe you don't. Yeah, but when you got family and you're doing stuff, and I'm busy, but Sunday, I don't know. It's going to be tough, and I don't want my hashtag don't get divorced. That's all I can tell you.
Hey, Coach Nick, we got one important question left here.
Okay.
Braden Taylor wants to know who likes Lil Uzi. Do you like Lil Uzi?
I wish I knew who Lil Uzi was. Who is he?
He's a rapper. He made Sanguine Paradise. That's all you need to know, pretty much. He's on the new Tyler album. All important facts here.
No, I don't know any. The only guy, Chance the Rapper, might be the only guy I know who's somewhat new these days, and that's all.
He's a great artist. Well, actual question: do you enjoy? Everyone loves Lil Uzi. Do you enjoy Drake's antics on the sideline? Does that add to the game for you, or does it take away from it?
Oh, I love it. I think it's great. I love Spike when he was doing it and all that stuff. I love it. So for sure, I think it's fine. Now, the only question is like the when you're touching the coach or whatever, that's a little bit too far over to where he should be. That might be the only thing. Yeah, I mean, he high fives the guys. I mean, but they're right there and stuff. And I'm sure a lot of other fans have done that in the past too, who sit in those seats. And that's part of how much is he paying? Maybe he doesn't pay anything, but like you would pay what, $10,000 each for those seats?
Yeah, well, they did apparently give him like a $250,000 jacket that they made for him. So
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And they named the practice facility after him or something like that? Is that what you said?
Probably. Yeah, well, yeah, they did, right? It was the OVO facility. I think you're right. So. I think he's sponsored. Like, I know he was sponsoring a lot of like rebuilding courts for the youth in Toronto and stuff like that. Like, he's investing a lot in the community there. So it seems to be a great symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the actual question. The actual Bryn Forbes, apparently, who's the biggest Derek White fan in the world, wants to know, on a scale from Pippen to Jordan, how good is Derek White?
Are we talking about defense?
I mean, I guess, okay. Do you think Derek White could be like an all-time great defender at his position?
It's funny. I'm so enamored with his game and his offensive game that I'm kind of blanking right now for some reason on defensively. I mean, he's got size. He's got the mindset to do it. But I don't know. The all-time guys tend to be a little bit longer, a little bit faster, a little bit more explosive than him. So I don't know if he's going to make it to that level, right? Pippen and Jordan were like so off the charts athletically. Derek White is not that kind of guy, but he's the guy you could build he could be on a NBA Finals team as a starter. I think
that's right. Someone said Michael B. Jordan.
Anymore.
Maybe he'll be that good.
Who?
Someone said Michael B. Jordan. Maybe he'll be that good.
Michael B. Jordan. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he could be in the third movie, third Rocky movie, or third Creed movie. Yeah, maybe. Michael B. Jordan can't play defense though.
That's probably true. But I think White's going to be an all defensive team guy for like the next decade. Although I guess the tricky part will be once Murray comes back and gets healthy, you now have two basically all defensive guards in the backcourt. So I feel like one of them's not going to get their shine.
Right.
But whatever. I got to run. So we should wrap this up now anyway before we go down the Derek White rabbit hole.
I do feel bad that we haven't really. All of a sudden now my desktop is working with Periscope and I do see some questions there. But anyway, Good stuff. We'll get back to you guys on the Periscope next time. No question. So I guess Saturday is out for a post game show because I'm not really gonna be around and you're not around. I guess so. We'll see.
I'm ready to do it if you are. So we'll try. I'm gonna try to make it happen.
Yeah, I'm not even sure I'm able to watch it. I'm going to be at a family event like at that night, so I'll be lucky if I see the game. So we'll forget that one. But maybe Game 7, Japan.
This is unbelievable. I hope the fans let you hear it because I'm out here at birthday parties, out in clubs, watching on my phone, going outside, getting it done, going to be in Japan, and you're like, oh, I'm going to be with the family. So
right. Well,
you tell that wife. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, but remember, I can't do all this unless I'm at my desktop, right? I don't have my Wirecast and the whole thing set up, so I don't even know. I can't bring you in. Like I could do it myself as a selfie, whatever. But hey, but maybe Monday night is the Game 7.
I think so. We should get the world's largest Skype call going where we'll just have everybody Skype with us.
Yeah. Maybe, by the way, one thing we could do is offer a raffle and bring people into this conversation.
Cool.
Give them a link and then they can have it as long as they don't share the link or whatever. But we could, I can get up to 5 people in here, I think. So maybe we'll do that at some point, maybe during the finals. That'll be the big thing. And
that sounds fun.
Although you're gone till whenever. But we'll figure it out. Anyway, great show, everybody. Great everything, great questions, all that stuff.
Shout out Jigglypuff forever.
Yes, Jigglypuff, don't forget to email me. And don't forget, I'll get a game breakdown ASAP before I got to get on the road tomorrow, I hope. So that's it. Awesome stuff. Thank you guys. And don't forget, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're on a channel, Weird Conversation. You in? Are you in, Jared?
I'm in Japan time now.